Thank you all for coming. I'm so upset that most leaders are not announcing having season parties anymore. And we had a long conversation about April the 15th, because I know it's the second day of Seder. I am not Jewish, so we'll have it on tax day. I know. Who knew? Roscoe's here. I know he's Jewish, so we're going to be okay. Tonight is all about what's happened in the last 24 years, and to let you guys see the history of where we've gone and where I'd like to take the company in the future. I started Triangle 24 years ago because I wrote a play that nobody wanted to produce. And that's no joke. Do you remember Sumas or Storefront or New Rose?
Yeah.
They turned me down. And where are they? But it's because I went to them, and then I was on the board of the Firehouse Theater. Does everybody remember the Firehouse Theater? The city of Portland actually had an arts organization, and they had a program, and they actually paid for theater to be done in Portland. And of course, it's no longer because of the 1989 or something, there was a ballot measure and there was tax problems. Anyway, so I went to Lorraine Reese, and she said, well, if nobody wants to do it, why don't you do it? And I said, okay. And I'd been at home for 4.5 years because Jeff and I had kind of nestled down. I promised him I would never do theater again. I know, 25 years later. And what happened was I was an actor in town. I actually was on the main stage of Portland Civic. I was doing Funny Girl. I did a lot of shows. I was in a comedy theater company, which is no longer two, doing Bleacher Bums when I was the blind guy looking and calling the show. I had a lot of fun. And then when I met Jeff, I said, I've already gone through 2 divorces. I don't need another one. I have my kids. I have my home. I should stay home. It's hard to stay home.
Yeah.
And God bless it. He's been pretty good about saying, okay, go do 1 show. So I did 1 show. And then I did 200 more. So, that's part of life. What I did was I wrote a play called After the Rain. So Mandy, we're going to show you slides of the past. And I'll go through a couple with you. Triangle Productions presents. In Triangle, if you notice, there is a hand coming down, and there's a triangle. I'm very religious, and that's the hand of God holding the Trinity, SQ. Just to let you know that. So season 1 was only 1 show, right? I promised Jeff 1 show. We did it at the Firehouse Theater, and my stepdaughter's there doing costumes. And what happened was we did this show, and Jerry Leap, who was the director, died right after, not knowing this play paralleled his life. Mandy, go ahead. Hopefully, because I did these slides. I designed this because this was the only program poster would ever do. And as we go on, there's me. This is Gay Pride. I know! It's not. That was Gay Pride. And I thought for sure that it would be the only time we'd ever do Gay Pride. And that's my partner, Jeff, in the middle. So he was there too. So he was buying into it slowly. Go ahead. The second show I did, we announced a season because I thought, I can do a season if everybody else can do a season. And it was, the first show was Tell Mama Goodbye. When we were doing the show, when we were doing After the Rain, a woman came up to me and said, Don, I want to tell you something. Men always talk about men in needs. They never talk about women in needs. And I said, I don't understand that. I don't know women with AIDS. And she goes, I want to let you know, my name is Nancy. I'm HIV positive, and I also am pregnant. And through the conversations that Nancy and I had, I wrote another show. I was more to do one, but I felt important enough to do this. So we did Tell Mama Goodbye, and it was about a girl who finds out that she's HIV positive over the phone at her work, and she was a teller. And this happened, because it happened to Nancy. Nancy's gone, her baby has survived, and it's negative, thank goodness. The other thing about Tell Mama Goodbye, which was weird because I'm a playwright, right? So I'm now a playwright. And I didn't realize that there was an HIV conference for women and children in Portland. They invited us to their conference, and 500 people came. So here you are, a playwright for the first play, and the second play becomes this massive, huge thing. I had to do more. So why? So why we're doing this, go ahead, Mandy. There's my cast, and again, we did the firehouse. When I'm doing that, and we did vampire lesbians and stuff. There's a story behind the show. Vampire Lesbians of Sodom ran 6 years off Broadway. Now, I only wrote 2 shows, so how in the fuck am I going to? I'm saying this out loud because I didn't know how to do it. To call and find out how to do rights and stuff like that, and how. So I thought, well, this would be cool. The name of the title, Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, at the Clint Street Theater. Right? There was no dressing rooms. We actually dressed in the hallway, the fire escape. The bathroom was around the corner to the tavern. There was no bathrooms for the actors, and on top of that, we had to sweep up the hot dogs, the fries, the toast. It was a rocky horror, but we made it. Opening night, there was no ticket sales. And this place held 225 seats, and I'm like, okay, it's almost 8 o'clock, and nobody's here. Open the doors, there was a line around the block.
Wow.
It sold out every night we did the show. We raised money for Cascade 8s. And I did that for Tell Mama Goodbye, and I did that. So the track record of Triangle's always been giving, because if you give out, you give back. And Bob Hicks was in a little island. Bob was at the Oregon, and he goes, I didn't write about this because I thought it was a stupid title. I guess I have to write about it. Go ahead. And I had a great time. If you notice, it said Female Trouble also in Rocky Horror. And there's a story again with that. Stop. Fred Meyer. God bless Fred Meyer. I have a little story about you. When I did Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, Fred Meyer decided not to sell our tickets at the Fred Meyer store. Why? Because of the title, Vampire Lesbians of Sodom. Cheryl Perrin, who later on won an award for the HRC for being really advocate for the gay community, said, simply because of the name, Fred Meyer does not like the name because they think it's misleading, and hopes that people remember Fred Meyer has a really good record of aggressive public policy. That gave us so much press. I was really happy. On top of that, guess what? I ran it 3 more times during our history, and it sold out every time. And on top of that, people would go into Fred Meyer's, because Fastix was the ticket company, and they were selling tickets, and people would walk in, I want that lesbian show! After a while, Fred Meyer buckled and did sell our tickets. There's stories I tell you every day. Keep going. God bless Fred Meyer's. I still shop there. Great cast. Again, with the costumes and everything we had at the Clinton Street, I'm amazed we pulled this thing off. And that's backstage in a little tiny hallway. This lady came up from LA, she wanted to do a show, and then we went to the Theater Paris. Does anybody remember Theater Paris? Stop. This is outside what it looked like before, and then when I moved in, we actually got a PDC grant to do the outside and the tile and the whole bit. This is where Storefront was. Okay, kids, this used to be a porno place. What is it now? A porno place. So pretty soon it's going to be a theater again. I just have this evolution, I can see it. What happened is Storefront was 21 years here in Portland. They did a lot of amazing things. This was their last stop before they went to a place called the PCPA. And everybody who's gone into the Winningstad, except for Third Railway at the moment, we don't know the demise of them or the pluses of that, but every theater that's moved into the Winningstad has closed. This is no joke. So what happened was they were doing a show, Storefront was, at PCPA in the Winningstad, and they closed. I took over the space on July the 1st, 1991. It's their first permanent home, and that's when I met Debbie and Bob. Go ahead. And again, Vampire Lesbians of Sodom. I don't kill the dead duck if it's not going to live. Stop. This is a show I wrote. A dear friend, do you remember John Gray from South Shannon Omark? Okay, John was my boss. I worked at Omark Industries. And I would go, and I was the mail carrier, and run around, and I'd meet his secretary, who was a very defined woman. Her name was Martha Kilpatrick. And one day, Martha was sitting at her desk, and she was crying. And Martha was always this beautiful woman. And I said, what's the matter, Martha? And she goes, I think Stan has a disease. And I said, what kind? And she goes, he was a builder, Stanley Kilpatrick, in Lake Oswego. And he stood in his workshop and said, I don't know why I'm here. So through that, I wrote a play, and this is 1991, called Don't Know the Color Rainbows, actually, about Alzheimer's, before Alzheimer's was actually talked about. Go ahead. It was a hard show, and Michael Allen Harrison wrote the music for me because his stepdad had Alzheimer's. Yeah. It's the history of life, I tell you never know. You never know. And then here's another one. We went down, A Apparel, I know. We were at Embers. We were at Embers. We've been everywhere, I tell you, okay? Keep going. $5. Not anymore. Believe it or not, I hate Shakespeare. We did a Shakespeare show. And then this show rocked the world. Stop. This is Beirut. Does anybody remember Beirut? Okay. Beirut was something I never knew was going to happen in my world. I read this play about Torch, who had a pea on his butt. If you see it, it's right over here. It's right here. And if it turned positive, it turned a different color, he would be exterminated. And so Blue, who was Raisa Fleming, broke in to have sex with him, to die with him. And I'm like, I love this show. So I got the rights, and the night of the closing night of Vampire Legends of Sodom, there was an article in the paper the year ago, and it said, New Roads got the rights to the show called Beirut. And I'm going, I don't think so. I've already paid. The one thing I've learned in life, you always pay in advance. Security. I called up Kip at Broadway Play Publishing, and I said, what is this? And he goes, they don't have the rights to that show. In fact, they owe us money from the other shows. You have the rights. So Beirut, this young man is hot as all get out, I want you to know. That's Dan Reed, who opened for the Rolling Stones during their world tour in 1991. I didn't know that when we cast him. So guess what happened? There was a line around the block. That's no joke. We opened at 8:30, and the thing was, Dan, there was a couch on stage that you didn't know that Dan was on stage. And there was a sheet over him. The alarm got off, he hit it, and the sheet's open, and there's Dan walking nude. Not only did we sell some tickets, they were only $12 at the time. We should have sold them for a lot more, but $12 was a lot of money back then, right? Go ahead. My stories, I'm sorry. We could be here all night. First Randy, Raisa won for the show, yeah. And I had to give her the Grammy for it, so I was hoping that she would win. And Jude came back and did a second show for us, which was great. And then we did a show called Cycle Beach Party. My belief is that if the playwright can write one play, can write another one, this is Vampire Lesbian sequel. There was our season. We did 2 seasons now. Look at this. Now we're going into a big season. Uh-oh. People remember. Keep going. The first show was Bent. Does anybody remember Bent? Okay, stop Mandy. Life gives you things on a platter you don't know. The Anne Frank exhibit was coming to Portland, and they all called all the theaters and said, hey, would you like to do a show for the Anne Frank exhibit? And I said, okay, I want to do cabaret. And they said, the rights are not available. So I read this play called Bent. And ART was doing the Diary of Anne Frank and stuff like that, so we were all gung-ho. Guess what happened during that time in 1992? Measure 9. Bent is about homosexuals in a prisoner of war camp. And Measure 9 was about eliminating basically homosexuals. That show, again, sold out, not because it was a hit, because people thought it was a great show, which it was, and we were nominated and won a lot of awards. It was because it was the right show at the right time. And I tell you, there were people still sitting in their seats 5, 10, 20 minutes after the show ended. And it was an amazing, and we extended and extended and extended because it was that kind of a show we needed to do at that time. Go ahead. And that's Michael Mendelssohn that people know. No on 9. I lived through it. I had swastikas on the doorways of my theater. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I guess we won. Yeah. And we added shows, and we did shows because we had space. Springfield, USA. So stop. This is when I met Daria. Did everybody know Daria? She was this little girl from Lewis and Clark, and she came into this reading, hi, just okay. But her breast went out. And you knew somehow she was going to make it either with her breasts or with her voice. She made it with both. But that's how I met. This was about Springfield divided between Eugene and Springfield. And I always felt that Springfield and Eugene were like Berlin. Springfield wanted to be no on 9, and Eugene was against that. And I thought it was a dividing line. I was working for the state of Oregon in an audience working firm, so I had to go to Springfield and Eugene. And it was scary because I look like this. And go to Eugene and they hate you. And you knew when a truck driver doesn't like you, there's a problem. Anyway, keep going. Found Prairie Lane again. We did actually 4 times. So. And then we did a show called Reform School Vixens for a couple weeks. And then Family Values Christmas, because we knew that family values were very important. And then Wendy came in my life. And then the show stopped. This is the show that Alan Bound won. He wrote, and I will tell you something, nobody came. Well, I know, probably 5 to 10 people a night. What is the last good vein of your body if you were going to shoot up? Think about it. Your jugular. That's what the show was about. He was an addict and he wanted to shoot up. Nobody came, but we won a Grammy for the best set. And it was an amazing show. I became, believe it or not, we had 2 equity actors. If you have 2 equity actors, you have to have an equity stage manager. I became an equity stage manager, box office, the whole bit for the show. So I got my equity card for that show. Go ahead. Beautiful pictures. And a very hard show. It was a really hard show. And then Wendy's again with Scott Parker, and it's called Breaching. And then we did a show called Blue Plate Special. Oh, one of my favorite shows. And then Great Rainrod with Captain Philpott would go on point and walk across stage. And our 4th season got smaller because we left Theatre Paris. Our rent when we moved in was $2,000 a month, not including utilities in 1991. You can't afford it. And on top of that, there was a hallway or alleyway between the building and another building, and we put plastic up during the rain. And Carol Ann Smith, and some of you guys will know her, she stood on boxes, and we had little power strips, and she plugged in and out lights to keep the show going on. This is no joke. And rain would be falling, actors would be going back and forth, and I said, something's got to give here. This is not theater. And so we moved out, and Portland Web, who was around at the time, had a stage 2, and we moved over there for our shows. Go ahead. The Blue Plate Special again, and then we move out because I can't afford it. And we had big press on that because it was another, God bless, we close the theaters, please. Baltimore Won't Stop was my first show that I ever directed. And I'm very proud of it for a lot of reasons. And it was nominated for a couple Grammys, and back then they nominated, and they're back doing that again. But it was the very first show at the Portland Rep Space that we did. The fire marshal, though, said, you have to walk around this space all the time. So I got to watch the show in rehearsals. When the audience happened, I had to make sure that my flashlight, and also I had a wrecking bar, because during that time in Northwest Portland, if you found somebody, they would be breaking your car or slashing your tire. And now it's like livability city USA, but not back then. Go ahead. Some of us with Rob Buckmaster, stop. This was the first show I did with Robbie. Does anybody remember Rob? Rob was an actor's actor. He could sing, he could dance, he could do everything. I wanted him for the show so bad, and Rob said, I called him up, I was on my couch, and I said, hey bud, how you doing? He goes, I don't want to talk, I want to talk about theater, I'm done. I'm on the phone. You never hang up on me. Hi Rob, this is Don. He goes, I don't want to talk about theater. Hi Rob, this is Don. He goes, and he started yelling at me, and he finally said, I'm HIV positive, I'm dying. And I said, Rob, can I tell you something? I'm dying. So do me a favor, get off your ass and do the show for me, and we'll make it work. And he did 3 or 4 shows for me afterwards. But this is the first one. He's an amazing talent. And Grammys galore. We were nominated for a lot of Grammys that year. And our shows started changing. We did Jeffries. People remember Jeffrey? And Falsetto, stop. That's Susanna Mars. Our very first show is Susie. Stories galore about her. And Rob Buckmaster in the show with Rick Lewis. This was 1994. We were the first company outside New York after the Tonys to do falsettos. And I'm very proud of it, yeah. We won Best Production that year. And then Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I tell you, is, and stop, guess who that is? That's Walter Cole Darcel. When I was doing all this and I getting the playwright, I wrote a play about Paris Milstead, who was divine. And I called Walter up and he said, "Get over here." So I go over there and he's in sweats with, big long nails and big diamonds, and he's outside in sweats. And I go, "What? I don't get this, I don't understand this." And I said, "I got this play that I want you kind of like this, but without the nails and stuff." And he goes, "What is it?" I go, "Divine." And believe it or not, he said yes, and we ran it for 10 weeks, and then he took it down to his space for another 10 weeks. And people got to see him out of drag and as Walter Cole. And he had been an actor many, many years earlier, but this is the first time he had been out of drag because he didn't want people to see that he wasn't Darcel. So anyway, go ahead. I'm very proud of the show. And I cut out Doll Book. Why not? And we did Jeffrey again, and there's a reason why we did Jeffrey. Keep going. We toured Divine to Seattle and San Francisco. Kathy Moe. Does everybody know Kathy Moe? Here we go, Kathy Moe. Kathy Moe is Kathy Jimmy and Mo Gaffney, and it ran off Broadway, whatever. We were supposed to do it at, believe it or not, the Portland Rep Stage 2, but they closed down because the fire marshal didn't like what they were doing. So we moved back to, where else? The Clinton Street Theater. Why not, right? Clean up the hot dogs, clean up everything else. We did it, and Kathy Moe was a huge hit. Wendy Westerlo and Karen Tate was in it. Go ahead. All of these nominations, 12 nominations.
Wow.
We were on a roll. This Triangle was on, and this is the third year, fourth year, Jeffrey got back and stopped. Robbie was ill. We closed the show in February, and I wanted to do the show again because I knew that he knew the show. So we went to Artist Rec when they were up in the YWCA, and I talked to Alan Moss, and I said, "Rob, I need to do this before you guys move out, and also try to raise money for our building we're buying." And he said, "Okay," and I went to Rob, and Rob goes, "Nobody's going to do this show again." So I went to the cast, and they said, "We don't want to do the show again." And I said, "Just come over to Rob's house." And Robbie had meds on the side. And we made food, and I said, "Robbie, go outside and sit in your chair and let the cast come." And they went out, and they came back, and they said, "We have to do the show." And during the run of the show, Rob would come out, and he'd sit down, and he'd be sweating. We'd be a glass of water, there'd be a towel. All the way through the show, we let him live for 5 more weeks, and he even said that. He died on November the 5th. Of that year, and we did this in July. He got to live the rest of his life on stage, basically. His mom, his dad, everybody said if it wasn't for the show, he'd have died earlier. So, yeah, I'm very proud of it. We lived in the Main Street Playhouse. Again, we moved, right? Hello. Some of you guys have traveled with me. Hello. We did a show that Robbie was supposed to call The Night Larry Kramer Kissed Me. We couldn't, so we did Kathy Moe instead. We brought it back. It was a big hit. And then we did a show called Ruthless, which Stumptown's doing this coming year. It was a fun show with Brian Galiski and Sue Parks Hilden and Casey Garcia. It was a fabulous show it's the bad seed of a musical. It's a great show, it's fun. Go ahead. And then Michael Minker, who was in Jeffrey, got to do the show for Robbie. That was honor. This is Twilight of the Gold, and there's a story, again stories, I know, sorry. This is my cast with Susanna Marzican and Sue Ellen Christensen. The guy over here in the back with the glasses, the older man, is Tom Laswell. Opening weekend, I get this call from Tom's wife, Mary. Goes, "Tom, sorry, Tom's ill. He just had a heart attack, and he's going to be back in stage on Thursday." I go, "Mary, can I tell you something? If Tom's had a heart attack and it's his 4th one, I don't think he's going to be back on stage." So I called the cast, and 11 o'clock at night, I get this call back from Susanna Marks. "Donnie, I want to tell you something. Dad will come up and do it for free." Kenneth Morris. Producers, "What's up, Doc?" He was working on Aladdin. And I said, "Well, Susie, free?" And she goes, "Well, he's going to do a couple little things, but he'll do it for free because Aladdin, but we can't do it." So we gave him the script on Monday over the phone, block him on Tuesday, comes up on Thursday, flies up after doing Aladdin. He's on stage with the cast. He's got a 5-page monologue this guy has. He looks at his script once, and we do it the next night for the live audience. And that was the only time Susanna Mars ever worked with him. And she thanks him for that to this day. Yeah, and I also thank her that her dad was available. And the caliber of actor that he was. Anyway, go ahead. Very blessed with that show. And then we did a show called You Should Be So Lucky. Again, Charles Busch, Vampire Lesbians. We're nominated for 8. We're kind of going down a little bit, but guess what? We're still going there. Now we're in our 7th freaking year, right? Guess who that is? Stop. It's Peter Page from Queer as Folk. Peter lived in town for about 5 years and was a great actor. He's an amazing actor. But that was his first show with us. And that's Bob McGranahan. And he was, Bob, the president, has to come down and not be president, so Bob becomes the first president. And guess what happens when you have a first president and you have a gay partner? What do you call him? And that's what the show is all about. It was a fun show. It was fun. Go ahead. John Ulis, Two Boys in a Bed and Cold Winter's Night. I have a story. John every night would come out, stop. We'd come out every night and there was a dildo underneath the no joke, well, it was one of those shows. You know, it's new. So he'd come out and he had the dildo and he put it in the doorway and God, but Eric would go, dildo, throw it out. Audience would howl, but at the same time he almost hit the stage manager every night. It was like, that was Main Street. And I tell you, Main Street where we were there, it was tiny. The ceilings were low, there was no entrance and exit, and the bathroom was all shared by the audience again, so. Go ahead. Michael Minison did a one-person show called Waiting for Vern. And then we did 3 viewings. It's Mary Marsh, Eric, and Nicolette. And again, we did another one, Run for Your Wife, a British farce. I love that British farce. And then Making Porn, believe it or not, yes, Ryan Idle was in the show. Do you know who Ryan Idle is? So this is when, through the process, we bought a building. When I was in New York, taking Divine to New York, Myra Donnelly, do you know who Myra is? Okay. Myra Donnelly is the Donnelly family. If anybody knows who the Donnelly family is, it's the R&R Donnelly Publishing Company. Well, she said in New York, she goes, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'd like to take you to New York, but I also want to have a home. I want Triangle to have a home. She goes, well, why don't we buy one? I go, well, okay. But for you. So we get back, and I call Rob and Fred, and Rob is very ill at this moment. And Fred goes, well, this will give Rob a chance to drive around. So they were looking for buildings. They found Slabtown, and we said no. And we found Belmont, and we said yes. I come in, and Myra's got her stack. And I just bought a beach house at the time, and I was so excited. Because I had a house in a beach house. I didn't realize who the R.R. Donnelly Publishing is. If you read a Harry Potter book, they published it. The Yellow Pages, they published it. Yeah. Down at Brad Street, that's them. If you're in Chicago, there's a wing at the Chicago Museum, the Donnelly wing. So I was like really excited with my beach house. But we bought a building, and that's where this is. And I tell you, that was an adventure. We were on the front of Sunset Magazine and things like that. It really was an amazing time. We were 8th year there, and the first show we did was Angels in America. I was so freaking proud of that show. And the angel is Michaela Watkins, who's done Backup Plan, who's on a couple shows right at the moment. And then we did this funny little show. Stop. I hate Shakespeare. His family should get some royalties. I just want to let you know that. They're being, anyway. So I found a show when I was seeing You Should Be So Lucky upstairs. Downstairs was this little tiny show called Complete Works of William Shakespeare in 97 minutes. The guys couldn't do it in 97 minutes. It was Kevin Michael Moore. You can't do things in an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it was a great time, and that's Leighton Norby, the first time Leighton Norby's on the show. And Michael Rooker. Yeah. Go ahead. We did children's theater. Yeah. Annabelle Bloom, believe it or not, I have kids. I know, and I love children's theater. John and Tony's. We did a Christmas show called A Christmas Carol. We also did one called A Gay Christmas Carol. There's Karen Tate and Van O'Brien, first time I worked with. And then a show, this is the food chain. And the girl on the couch over there is Michaela Watkins, who's also in Angels of America. Like I said, she's on a couple major shows. So we've had some really amazing people. I would say every show, but to see them go on from Portland. Gary Norman. Do you guys know Gary Norman? The show I didn't show you in the slides is Party. Do you guys remember Party? Okay. Oh, my front row here. Party was a night when everybody would come to the house and they would have a party, and it was a truth or dare. And by the end, everybody was nude. And what happened was, They would get a guy every night do jumping jacks. And in a separate hot room for every night. And he would throw it out in the audience, and people would come every Friday night, every Thursday night to come see him throwing it out in the audience and grabbing it. I'm sorry, but Peter, that's how we found Peter Page, that's how we found Gary Norman. Gary came with beautiful red hair, very skinny, very beautiful. He was first time in Portland. Go ahead. Blood Brothers. Proud as all get out. That's Andy Akala?
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Girls Night Out, stop. Gary Cash,
Yes.
Dale Johannes.
Yes.
They would go out in the audience every night after the show, and they would jump up there and they would start getting money. I tell you, the boys loved doing that. And both audiences liked having them do that. That was a blast of a show to do. That was amazing. Go ahead. And we were nominated again, Blood Brothers. 9 years, we started with Torch Song Trilogy with Brian Liskey. That was an amazing show. That was the first time Laura Faye Smith worked for me. And then Christmas would stop. Christmas would cry for certain. Dale and Drag is not worth seeing, I promise you that. He was horrible, but he was funny as all get out. And that's Cam. Oh, what happened? Mandy, what happened?
I don't know.
What happened?
Censorship.
Censorship. I did this. There's 280. We're going to try to go through them quickly.
Don,
Sorry, yes.
stop.
What?
Who's dog?
Oh, that's our doggy, Simone. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. I miss her. We have another one, as you can see. Are you okay, Mandy?
Yep.
Go. No?
Yes?
No?
Yes? Hold on.
That's Laura Faye Smith and Drag.
There we go.
Queen of Bingo, Karen Tate, and who? Stop. Sharon Maloney. I'm sorry. We did White Trash Wedding at a funeral right after Queen of Bingo. That was a fucking fabulous show. That was fun. We did the chicken dance, and I never knew I did the chicken dance. Anyway, go ahead. And you can tell it's White Trash. There's Laura, and there's Leif, and there's Dale, and there's Jamie. Cash, we didn't stop. Dennis Bigelow wanted to do Clue the musical, and I said, great, let's do Clue. We read it, and he goes, it's a pile of shit. And I said, Dennis, we're in rehearsal, what are we going to do? And he goes, find me a musical. And I said, okay. And I go, what music would you like? He goes, Forbidden Broadway. And I thought, oh yeah, that's right, that's what I'm going to get. This is 1990, right? 1997, 98. So I said, okay, so I called the producer, and believe it or not, it's a Saturday afternoon in the producer's office. And I said, hey, John Freeze, and I'm Don Horn in Portland, Oregon, I'd like to do your show. And he goes, good for you, no one's ever done it. We only do it on Broadway. And I go, okay, but he goes, so what's your name? I go, Don Horn. Where do you live in Portland, Oregon? I'll call you back. He calls me back in 20 minutes, and we get the rights to the show. Why? It's who you know. His cousin lived in town. And we had a reputation. And we were the first theater outside New York to do the show. They didn't even tour it yet. So we did Forbidden Broadway, and I love the friggin' show. And that's Sharon Maroney, Rick Lewis, Kelly, and Gary. That was a revolving cast too, because we had Margie Boulain for a while. I love children. I love Winnie the Pooh. That's one of my favorites. And Laura was left. Girls Night Out came back. We thought the 10th season would be great if you did the 10 other shows. They almost all died. So, you learn from mistakes. But I thought the 10th anniversary, doing 10 great shows. And then we did the show called Blue Room. Glad Tidings. Bruce Blanchard. Big Willis. The Most Fabulous Story. Paul Rednick. We just kept on doing gay. But that was okay. Stop. I have to show you something. There's a lady in the room right now.
Oh my God.
This is Michelle Ray. This is Spencer Conway. Okay? Every night,
Thanks,
Spencer
Don.
the lights would go out, and she would say, yes, fuck me, hook-nosed Jew. He'd jump out of bed nude and say, what? And Michelle would jump out of bed nude on the other side. And one night, Michelle, there's a whole group of women there.
No, you put wheelchairs in front of me.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of wheelchairs, and Michelle's like, well, I don't care. That was a great show. And that's Dale Johannes, Michael Tufel, Sherry Price. Yeah, Michael Tufel. Go ahead. We had a great time at that show. Danny Panettiere from Who's the Boss came up and did the show for us. And then Laura, Nick, Michelle in the corner. This was an amazing show. It was a hard show to do, but it was a great show. Unidentified Human Remains and True Nature of Love. We did I Love You, Permanent Change. 3 years. 40 performances. And then we did a gay Christmas Carol. That's Gary Norman and Drag. Fabulous. Helena, Shirley Valentine. Songs for a New World with Dale and Susanna and Debbie Hunter. I love this. This is about Elizabeth Taylor. And then When Pigs Fly just happened up in Seattle, up in Vancouver. This is what we did. We won a Grammy for that, for Best Costumes. More children's shows. And then we did a Summer Pride series. We thought, we're not gay enough. What you found? Dyke and the Porn Star? Okay, Tori. 10 Naked Men? Naked Men sing, I'm sorry, this is Naked Men sing. Bad Boy, he believed the bareback sex was okay for HIV positive. I needed to do that show. Stupid Kids? And that's how the logo looked. Now we're in our 12th season, and I'm like, what in the friggin' back can we do now? So we did Visa and Trial with Spencer and Daria. Yeah. We did Bash. Stop. This was during 2001 when the World Trade Center. Bash is about killing. Opening night was the night of the World Trade Center. We had people walking out. And I tell you, we still did it because I believed in it. But anyway, that's Laura and Nick. Yeah, go ahead. And then Forbidden Broadway again. Of course, we've got to do Forbidden Broadway. Every season there's a new Forbidden Broadway. That says Amen. It's the guys in drag. Dragging Miss Daisy. And that's Rick Jones. And there's Cam again. Christmas of Crawfords is always a hit because people love True. We did Truman Capote. Reasons for Rain and Clear. RJ, we did this is Kelsey Tyler from Bronson Stage. Michelle again, Darren, there's God bless Gary Norman again. Pump with the Dinettes with, of course, the late Jim Crusoe. Helen and the Girls did Juicy Tomatoes for me. Suzanne again doing Life from Art, real life. And then we did this show called Hedwig and the Ranch 3 times. And it's called Hedwig, not Hedwig. And there's William McCullough. And I brought him up to do Blood Brothers, and that's what got him up here. And there's Juliana. And then we did a show called Dream State, which helped children with their positivity with their lives. 13th season. We're still Belmont. There's Daria, there's Jennifer, there's God bless Michael, and I love her too. Yeah. We did this at a theater up in Northwest called Theater Rhinoceros. I opened another theater, why not? We did 15 shows in one season, guys. I Love You, Permanent Change, we took it to Seattle, we did it here again. We kept doing it. And the song in the show called Keep Coming Back, Keep Coming Back, that's what it is. Angry Housewives? And that was a cute little show, I love that show. It's a little, and then Shopping and Fucking. Why not? There's Sherry Price, Jennifer Needlove, and then we did Hedwig again. We did Hedwig down at the Whitney Kennedy Center for 2 nights. The women, there was, 14 women on my stage?
15.
15, is that what it was? It's Jungle Red. So who's counting? Yeah, it was an amazing cast. There's Tori again in Beautiful Thing, about acceptance. This guy is incredible as Judy Garland. He's incredible. And there's Daria and the Boys, Dan Johnson, Andrew Morris. And then we did a show called Talking Heads. Do you guys know Talking Heads? There's Vanna, Karen, and Helena. And Helena won the best actress, just for being on the floor. And then, of course, we did a thing called Circle with Dildos, and Joe Healy, and, and then Edward II about Edward II. I love that show. Tell Guys, I was his wife with Karen Tate, Michelle, Susanna, and then we won the Grammys. There's a thing called 10 Naked Men in Hollywood. And there's my tin making men. Kelsey and we did a show called Pageant. Do you guys remember Pageant?
Yes.
Pageant was these guys, Debbie Does Dallas. No joke, why not? I still have that in my office. It was a candle and you look at it. And Eris Laura won a Grammy for that. We did a show about W. Wipe your tush with Bush. And there's Pepe, and there's Kevin from Poison the Water, and there's Backstage with Ammon. That was a fabulous show. We had a great time. Went to Darcy House. And Rick Lewis was our MC. There's Van. We did another Talking Heads again. There's Alan Bennett has 5 of them. Daria did Bad Dates before Portland Center Stage did Bad Dates. I want you to know that. So there she is. That was a great time. And yeah, my hair stays kind of the same, doesn't it? Sword of Lives. Everybody know Sword of Lives? There's Michelle with Tim. Yes, and then there's Ellen and Margie. And Jeff Warren. And then there's Wade doing Rocky Horror. I did the Time War. That was supposed to be our last show over at Belmont. We sold Belmont. Because Myra wanted to go to New York and I wanted to retire. So we did Sword of Life one more time and then theater closed. Stop. I was going to go to Greece because we bought a house there. I wanted to live there with $500,000 in the bank. I got a call. We closed out on September the 30th, 2005. We got a call on February the 14th. Hi, Don. This is your stepdaughter, Shani. Nate's in the hospital. Just had an accident. He's dying. You need to go and find out if you can pull the plug or whatever. So I go to the airport, go to Guam. 46 days he's in ICU, and we finally get him back to Portland. I lose all my money. We don't go to Guam. Go to Greece. We don't do anything except for do the next show, and that's Hippie, because I needed something to live for. So theater brought me back from everything. It hasn't given me the money, but it's given me the joy. Go ahead. We did Hedwig at ART, and the last night of the show, Nate got to walk in and be part of the show. So we did this thing called Sisters Christmas Catechism over at the First Unitarian Church. We went everywhere. I tell you, I have done every theater done almost. Bark the Musical, that's when I really met some really incredible talent. Plaid Tidings, that's Forever Plaid Christmas special. James Drake, Bruce Blanchard. We did Pageant on the boat, on the river. Believe it or not, they called us and said, "Could you do it?" There's my Bart cast again. And there's Ellen By. I'm thanking her because she helped us out of some financial problems. And thank you very much for that. Anya Nancy. Okay, I gotta say a story about this. I came back from Guam, and I looked in the paper, and there's a huge spread about Tanya, and there's a show in the whole bit. And so I got hold of Tanya's agent in Linda, and she goes, "Tanya hates this, she hates it, she hates it." And I said, "Can I talk to Tanya?" She goes, "She doesn't want to talk to anybody." I didn't realize that Tanya's birthday is my partner's birthday. November the 12th, they're Scorpios. So you have to deal with them correctly. So I actually finally get to meet Tanya and tell her I want to do this show in the whole bit. I go over to Vancouver, she's at a bowling alley, all the things that you think, you know. And she's bowling, she's having her beer, she's talking. And she was the sweetest girl I ever met because she was herself. And I said, "I want to do the show that's been written, but I want to do it." And there was a fee for her to come opening night, and I did buy her posters and open for the cast. I wanted to help her out because I understand her problem, because I live with her problem. Also, her birthday is also Charles Manson's birthday. So I live with Tanya and Charles, okay? And I love Jeff. It's been 29 years almost, so you know, but at the same time. So we do the show, and she's supposed to come opening night. And I'm like really scared because I've heard horror stories she never arrives, right? So I get this call at 6 o'clock, and there's bands around. CNN, ESPN, CBS, NBC, Entertainment Tonight. I'm going, "She better show up." She calls me and she goes, "I'm up here 2 blocks, I'm playing video poker." And I'm going, "Oh shit." And so my rumors that I had heard started getting truer and truer about Tom Hardy. And she goes, "I'll be right there, don't worry, I've won $250. I'm going to shut it down, I'm going to come. And I'm going to strike one on her side when she's coming, right? I'm okay. She comes in the elevator, and she's really a short little lady, but her pants were too long, her blouse was out of shape, and her hair was okay. And she looked at me and flashbulbs and press and all that, and she said, hold my hand. We walked through, she was gracious, she talked, she did everything. After the show, she sat next to Jeff, and I was supposed to only give her a bouquet of flowers and not have her go on stage. She grabs the microphone, and she walks on stage. I went, no! She said, I never realized my life was this bad. And I thanked Dawn, I thanked the cast for doing this for me. And we went out and had a party afterwards with Tanya, and we were on Entertainment Tonight, we were on CNN. I never realized the impact of the press. But she still is a good person to me. On my 54th birthday, she took me and my family out to celebrate my birthday. No one's ever done that. So in a way, I honor her for what she's given me. And she now is married, she has a son, her life is good. So you never know what happens. But it really was amazing we did Tanya Nancy, because I was like, it's a train wreck, it's going to happen. It worked out amazingly well. Go ahead. We never heard from Nancy Kerrigan, though. That's Dale Johannes. I just want you to know that, people know. He was Jeff Galooly in the show, yeah. We did a Jap show, the Jewish American Princesses. That's Wendy and that's Francine. She was a little bigger then, as Wendy will say. We did a show called Eula May's Bait, Back and Tackle, and then we did That's Cam and That's God Bless. Michael Tugel. And then I wrote a play about Billie Holiday and Julianne Johnson and Tom Grant. And we did a show called Glorious, and that's Barbara Irving. And we did a show called Hats, the musical, about red hats. And I tell you, we did a night of red hats. And the women all said, take your hats off. It was amazing. I never saw it. It was all military. All these women took their hats off. And there's Julianne singing with Tom Grant at the Pandas. It's amazing life, because we did this again and nobody came. Wendy with Rose. She sat on a park bench for 2 hours, sitting Shiva, and we took her to Palm Springs. She was amazing. Then I wrote this little musical stuff. That's Susanna Mars riding a broomstick. And that was 69, the sexual revolution. We won 2 Grammys. One was called Perverts. Perverts are all around you, everywhere you go. And the other one is You'll Be Fine. But that truly was a fun show. It was about being the sexual revolution in 1969, when all the sex books happened. You know, what is it? Everything you know about sex was afraid to ask. The joy of sex kept on going. I thought we need to do a musical. Go ahead. And the set was kind of like Laughing. Wink at your anchor. There's Susanna. That was a blast. That was a fun show. And I won my 2 Grammys. I meant my 2 Pandas. Yeah. With Marv Ross, of all people. I never thought that he writing a song called, stop. What did the song that he write that became famous? Hard in Your Heart. And it's in the musical. What? There's a musical that's running on Broadway right now that came through town. Well, think about it for a minute. I'll let you know. Marv and I standing next to each other winning a Grammy was amazing, because I'm like going, there's no freaking way that a Grammy Award-winning guy, I'd be next to him writing the show. So anyway, amazing. I love Mark Ross and Randy Ross. They're amazing people, aren't they? Very giving. Yeah. Go ahead. Visiting Mr. Green is about a young man who visits an older man who is gay. That's Kelsey doing Santa's Clauses. There's Darcel. Out of drag again. There's me in the back. There's Cam. There's Tim. This is still Dragnolias. No joke. It's like the other Magnolias, but not as much. Anyway, and he was, Darcel was Wizard, of course. Go ahead. And a show called Santa Don't. We moved to ART now. We were in there for a year. And the first was Still Professional Tupperware. What a great show. That was fun. That's Adair and Jamie and Michelle and Lori. And then Wendy did a show. This show she wanted to do again. I asked her to do it again. It's called Soap and Alaska Red Hot Mamas. And she was amazing. And there she is. Again, Wendy doesn't look like Wendy sometimes. We moved in here. The journey, finally, we've been here. Our first show was My first time, of course, my first time in my first space. We had nothing, we had no lights, we had no stage, we had nothing, but we're doing a fucking show. Very happy with it. Great cast. And we took Wendy to Jocelyn Center down in Palm Springs. It was well received. I want you to know, it was amazing. People loved seeing good theater when they were older. And I really honor that, is that they just embraced Sophie Tucker down there. Go ahead. What? Again? Pam this. We did a show called Title of the Show. And we won 2 Grammys and we won a Panda for that. Yeah, did you guys see it here? Yeah. Not bad, huh? Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's a Gary and Adair, Maybe Baby It's You, and was done here. And then there's James, the first time I met James Sherringhausen. Oh, yeah. Take your shirt off, stop. Here is the boys gave me my winning prize, the biggest dick I've ever seen in my life. And it's from Dunkin' Donuts. They handed it to me, you're done, I know. So that's Joe Healy, that's Jeff Gorham, and there the boys are, Alex Fox. And then my show, it's not, this show, Darcel told me about 20 years ago, he said, there's a lady in town that I imitate every night on stage. I met Rocky because of this woman. He came up from Las Vegas and he was her dancer. And I said, really, who is this? And it was Gracie Hansen. Go in the women's restroom, there's a picture of Gracie. And he told me there's a picture of him and Gracie. And I had to write this musical. And she was an amazing woman for what she went through. She had 5 babies that died. She had cancer. Her husband was alcoholic. She went through hell and she went to the World's Fair and became basically a hit. Came down here and she ran for governor in 1970. Through all that, I said, this is gold for the theater. And she really, her sister and brother embraced the show, gave me a lot of costumes and jewelry and stuff like that. And Gordon Alforce from Gordon's Fireplace was her manager for many years. Anyway, I love the show. I'm very proud of it. And Julian Jaffe, who was in Hedwig, was in that show. And those are real buttons from Gracie's. Yeah. Very proud of that show. So now we get into Avenue Q. Okay, I have to tell you something. Avenue Q is a gift. Why? Because I knew Jeff Whitty when. And when the show came out, he said, I'll help you get the rights for the show. And we fought for the rights. And his sister lives here in town, and she was here opening night with her parents. And I tell you, that was an amazing show because the puppets were hard to find, the whole bit. And I think we pulled it off. I'm really proud of that show. No, I do that show, and I have all the props and everything stored. Very John Crawford. Where's my doggy? Dog is here. I know. Wendy and. So we're starting now, you guys are starting like, oh, now we know the show, now we know the show. I love this show. It was a lot of work. I hand stenciled all of those stencils on that set. Yeah. That was an amazing show. Mary Maria. I have Alison Grease, and people used to tell me you should go write a play about her, and I'm very proud I got to do that. And there she is singing. We got 7 nominations and no wins, but I tell you, do you know Amy Halliday is an amazing woman? You guys should really get to know her. Our last season was just this past season. Who liked Kiss of Spider-Man? It's a hard show, normally built for 16 actors. And we did it on 8. Stop. Opening night, a week before opening, I had to fire my lead. He didn't come to rehearsals, he didn't come. So Jonathan's over here, I'm back there, and he goes, Don, what are you going to do? And I said, you know what? He came in, he said, I'm here for the show, I know I did another show. The next night he came in and said, I can't do it. He called and said, I got sick. If you drive me over here with my sunglasses on and my hearing aid, and the whole bit, I'll do the show. And I thought, you're fired. So Jonathan's over here that night, and he's on his keyboard, he's on his phone, he's on his computer, and he runs over right at rehearsals, shoves the phone in my face and goes, call this guy right now. So I'm calling this guy right now. And he's in the East Coast, and he he's drunk? And he says, yes. And I said, we got somebody, but he's drunk. I don't know if he can do the show. So he calls back the next day and goes, hi, I got this call. I said, yeah, you did. He goes, I hope this is the person I'm speaking to. I said, yeah. I said, did you do the show? And he goes, I did it 2 years ago in college. And I said, you're hired. We're looking for somebody. Nicholas came out on Sunday afternoon, walked on stage and sang every song without looking at his script. Knew the lines. He was a college student, so he did the college thing. Monday we worked through the script. Monday night we did rehearsal. Thursday he opened the show. There's times that you have to do what you gotta do, and that was the best experience we ever had. Because Nicholas stayed at Marty's. That was free. He got flown out here because I had frequent flyer miles. I had $10 I had paid for him. Jonathan gave him his car. It was like this miracle upon miracle upon miracles. And to this day, this kid just got a contract to Tokyo Disneyland. He's going places. I believe it, I believe it, I believe it. So, yeah. Go ahead. And then this lady came to me about 20 years ago. Stop. This lady right here, Joan Hayward. Joan was a season ticket holder around the time you guys came. And Joan said to me in January when I met her, she goes, Donnie, I'm dying. You know I am. I've got cancer. And I go, yeah, everybody dies. You know, it's not going to happen for a long time. She goes, no, I've got a month, maybe 2, maybe 3, I don't know. And we were at Starbucks, and she held my hand, and she goes, I want you to do the show I've been wanting to do for about 7 or 8 years. We won't do it. And I want to see it before I die. And I said, Joan, I haven't chosen my season, maybe I will. And she goes, please do it. I'll give you my Fiesta Tour. I go, it's that show. Fiesta Tour. No one's going to come. And she gave us the Fiesta Tour. She also gave us part of her inheritance for the theater. And I tell you, we read the script at Ellen Buys on a Saturday. Monday it was fine. We organized to go Tuesday. Tuesday I was driving on the bridge in the interstate to go see her, and there was a huge rainbow. And I started crying. I said, okay, Pops, don't do this to me. And I get up to her apartment, and there she's having lunch or whatever, and she goes, you're not sitting down. You're going to get up there and get all the Fiesta word. I go, oh, okay. I don't like Fiesta, right? What am I going to do with Fiesta word? So she goes, I bought this here, I did this here, and she knew the prices, she knew where she got it, she knew what they were. I went, whoa. I drive away. The next morning, Ellen By calls me and says, she's gone. So I'm glad we got to do it. She got to hear the show, and her legacy is in my heart to this day. I really honor her. Anyway, Gary did a great job. I'm really proud of him. Yeah, quite a late. Then this thing called Medicare for the Fabulous. I'm at that age. God bless Wendy. She showed it all. I actually went behind her and put my hands and I held her breast, and she goes, they're dropping, Don. I love her. She's been around for a long time. Then we did a show called Next Fall. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. I've been very proud of what we've done in this world. I don't think triangle is not needed. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there's times when people do theater. Look at my life. Ah! And then we have a show called Jim Pepper coming up. Lord, life. That's my life. And that's part of yours.